Hi, I'm really excited today as we are going to create calendar heat map in React without any packages at all. On my screen, I have this user activity graph over time that represents how much user has been active over time. You'll be able to see on the first one, it's showing that 5 posts on September 1st. Then on September 2nd, user has done 10 posts, but on September 3rd, user has done no post at all. And then on the next Wednesday, user has done 7 posts. You might have seen this kind of calendar heat maps on GitHub or Leetcode. So let's dive into the coding part. But before that, let me show you that all the data are coming from Backend. So I have opened the network tab and let me refresh the page once. You'll be able to see there is an API call made to the Backend, and this API is sending an array that includes each date and number of commits or posts or submission, whatever it has. The data is coming day by day, and all these are made in real time. When I refresh, again the network calls will be made and all these will be written in the chart. So let's dive into the coding part. We will use Next.js on top of React. So let's go. By the way, quick reminder, if you want to access the source code of all the videos from the Build with React series, the link will be given in the description below, and also the playlist link of the Build with React series will be attached together. I have my VS Code opened up here. I will extend the terminal. In case you are new to my channel, you can just simply create a new React app, or better, create next app using npx create next app command. So you will be prompted with this screen or this kind of folders. Inside the pages or the apps directory, you can create new routes in Next.js. So I'll simply create a route called heatmap.js, and now you can initialize your React app here. I'll simply use this RAFCE, and it will give us a boilerplate to start with React coding. In case you don't have React Redux ES7 extension, you won't have this shortcut. So go ahead and install that if you want this shortcut. And now let's dive in. Let's start the server using npm run dev. And let's open this localhost 3000/heatmap. The file name of this would be the exact route name in Next.js. The response is now visible. Let's start coding. So I'll start with isolating the calendar component inside the components directory. In case you have created a new Next app, you won't have this directory. So you have to manually create a components directory. It helps us isolating other components. So I'll simply create like heatmap component, or maybe heatmap calendar.js. Inside this again RFCE. This is calendar component, and let's use this component in our main route with heatmap calendar. It will automatically import this from components. Let's see. Refresh. This is calendar component. It's showing up. Let's start coding. But before we start any other coding, let's create our dummy backend. For that, inside the pages, you get this API directory in Next.js. So inside this, I will create something like user-activity.js, and this will be our backend path, API/user activity. Inside this, I will write a function export default function, and the function name has to be handler, and it will have access to request and response. I'll simply send a response with status code 200, and it will be a JSON response. And inside this, send user activity, and we will simply send an array that I have generated with a script. And this is a very long array of dates and activity graphs. I can simply find this inside my GitHub repository that I have previously mentioned. So this is the array that has all the dates and activity counts as well. I'll simply copy it from here so that I don't have to generate it again. So I'll send it inside an array. So let's create an array and paste this. Okay, it's here. Yeah, now let's move forward with the coding part. Inside the main route, I will simply create a state const activity data set activity data, and it will be a state use state, import it, and blank array. And now inside an use effect, I'll just make a fetch call, fetch to which path /API / this user hyphen activity, and this will be a get simply. So dot then pass this response, whatever the response is, response.json, then dot then whatever data we grab from the passing, we will simply console log this for now, console.log whatever data we are getting. Let's see, add a dependency array, and let's now check the console. We have the object, and inside this there's a key user activity, as we are sending this JSON inside this property. So I'll simply console log this data.user activity. Let's see what is the output. We are simply getting all the data. Let's check the network tab, user activity, response. We are getting all the data from the user's activity, and now we have to save the data inside this activity data state. So for that I will simply do set activity data and the data we get from the backend, and also add a catch in case any error happens. We will be able to catch this console.error. There has been an error while fetching data, and simply print the error. In the heatmap calendar, we will be passing the starting date, the ending date, and the data values. So for that I will do start date. This would be the date from which the graph should start, and then there would be ending date, or maybe end date, and this activity data that we are grabbing. So name this data values and whatever we are saving in here. So let's now inside the heatmap calendar, let's grab these props. What were the names? Start date, end date, and data values. Now we have grabbed all them. Let's create individual dates from start date and end date. So I'll save this in. Let start date would be new date from the start date that we have received, and in the similar manner let's create end date, new date, end date that we have received, but let's just keep the names different. For that I will rename them starting date with starting date and ending date. And now let's find out the difference, the date difference in this. So I'll simply do const days in month would be end date, whatever the ending date is, minus start date or the starting date. Again we have made a mistake. This is ending date minus starting date, and then divided by 1000 into 60 seconds into 60 minutes into 24 hours, and then find the ceil out of it. So we'll do math.ceil, then simply +1. This will simply give us the difference between ending date and starting date. And now let's create the actual calendar grid. For that I will save this inside a variable called calendar grid, would be array.from, and inside that we will simply pass the length, which will be this number of days in month. Then we will fill all the dates dynamically like this. This will have access to all the elements one by one. So we will pass the date, like const date would be new date. From what date? Actually first create a date from the starting date, then we will add index, like the index initially should be 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4 till the length of the days gap. So we should be just adding them or increment them one by one. So let's do date. Inside the JavaScript date we get a method called setDate. This is the setDate function. Inside this we will grab the starting date and we will get the date using the getDate property, and we will increment the date with the index. So initially the index was 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up till this days of month difference gap. Once we have set the new date, we will simply return this date dot, there's another property called toISOstring, and we will slice this from 0 to 10th character index. Let's get some output on the screen. For that, we will split the screen, and there we go. We have split up, and let's close the DevTools, collapse this one. Inside this div, we will simply map over the calendar grid that we have just created. Calendar grid dot map, then each day, then we have index, and simply return another span like day. Let's see what we get in return. Refresh this. On the screen, we are not actually getting back anything at all. So let's see what we have missed. Okay, we have not added the starting date and ending date. So for that, let's go to the backend and get the starting date, and let's add the starting date here and the ending date. So we get the whole time span from where to where we need to show the chart. We have added that. Now you can see all the dates are visible here, but instead of the date, we will be showing something else. So we don't actually need to show anything at all. Just keep that simply, or you can also make this self-closing. We also have to add some class names. First will be the width of 4, height of 4, then some border radius with rounded, then cursor, pointer. And now, for now, we are adding a background color, BG gray, maybe 400. So it's better visible that what we have created. And instead of self-closing, just simply add something for now, like a simple dot. Okay, it's visible now. Later we will be adding something, and we will simply remove this dot later. Let's find the activity count on each day. So inside this map function itself, before returning anything, we would simply find out the activity count, and let's do const activity count, which is whatever data values we are receiving. Inside that, run find method, and each item, like do it like item.day. Inside the response, you can say item.date, sorry, not day, but item.date. Whenever that is same as the day itself, whenever both are same, find that date itself and find the count of them, like this count. So for that, it finds the date, and we simply do if that exists, then find the count. If count exists, or else simply return 0. So this activity count would retain all the counts. Like for the first date, it will have 5. For second date, it will have 10, 0, 7 at all. So let's just simply print this instead of this dot. Let's do this. You'll be able to see all the numbers. For the first day, it's 5, then 10, then 0, 7, 12, but we don't need to show them. We simply would be adding them inside the title. Like the title would be something like this. Let's add template literal, and inside this string activity count, whatever activity count we have. Then you want to add posts or commits, like posts on what day, then again template literals day. So instead of this, when we hover on this one, you will be able to see the title says 15 posts on date itself, like 11th September. Let's move forward. We have found the activity count on each single day. Let's find the color intensity. We will save this inside a variable again, intensity. And for this, let's create a function. I will create a function like get intensity, and we will simply pass this activity count for each day. Let's create this function over here. Const get intensity, and it will have activity count. Before finding the intensity, that depends on the highest commits or the highest submission for each month or each year. So here we can see maybe 15 is the highest one. So how do we actually find this? For that, we will have to run a reducer function, and we will save this inside a variable named highest value. we will reduce from data values. Data values, if that exists, then find reduce, and accumulator, then B. Then we would find the maximum one, math.max function, then A, which is our accumulator. Then inside B we have this count property, the count. Then the accumulator should be as low as possible. You could also do 0, but 0 can exist here. For that we will simply do minus infinity, and this will find the highest value over all the commits. We would simply return the intensity with return, then check that if the highest value is not 0, then simply return this number, whatever our activity count is for a single date, activity count divided by whatever highest value we have. Let's say for this date, let's first close this one. If that is not the case, then we will simply return 0. Let me make you understand whatever we are trying to say. And what is the error here? Okay, we have forgot to put the 0. Yeah, so let's say we have the highest number. To help you understand how to find the commits or post intensity of a specific date, I have created this drawing. You can see this is something like the heat map. These are all the dates. From this calendar or time span, you have to find the maximum number of commits that has been done in a single day, which is in my opinion 15. Let's set this max commit to be 15. In a single day, a user has done maximum of 15 commits. For example, let's say we are trying to find the intensity on this Sunday. What should be the intensity on this Sunday? So on this day, the user has done 6 commits or the 6 posts. So the intensity for this date should be 6 divided by whatever the max number of commits is in this time span, which is 15. 6 divided by 15, this should be our intensity. So now we have found the intensity, and the intensity itself alone would not work. We have to also find the color. For that, let's create another variable, const color. For that, I will create another function like const get color from intensity. This will receive the intensity itself, whatever the intensity is. And let's call this function from here, get color from intensity, and pass this intensity as argument. Inside this get color function, we will be having an array of colors. I'll simply choose this from our maybe components. I already have that in my code base, so I don't wanna waste time looking for the color codes. I already have it here, right? Let's copy this whole line. So these are the color codes. This probably would be the highest color or the lowest color. As we can see, FEEE, maybe it's closer to the main white, and this is more like red, maybe, I'm guessing. So based on the intensity, we will be assigning any of these colors. So let's go to the next line and let's find out the color index. Color index. We have to find the minimum of math.mean of intensity multiplied by whatever the color code's length we have. For us, we have 6 colors. Color codes dot length. Why we are actually doing this? Let's say the intensity is 8 divided by 15, closer to 0.5. So 0.5 into 6, which would be 3. Between 3 and the whole length, which one is minimum? We would be assigning this to this variable. For that, we would again do color codes dot length minus 1. Why we are actually multiplying the intensity with the color codes array length? Let's understand this. Let me first paste the color code array here. So this is the color code array. So let's take example of the previous element that we are talking about. So here the intensity would have been, let me just create this, intensity is equal to 6 divided by 15, which is around 0.4 equals to 0.4. Let me just align this. So this was 0.4, the intensity, and this whole length of the color codes array 1 2 3 4 5 6. So if we multiply this 0.4 with 6, let me come below here, 0.4 which is our intensity. Let me write this in brackets, intensity into 6, which is length. Here the multiplication becomes around 2.4. We have to find the 2.4th element from this color codes array. As we don't have 2.4th element, so the nearest integer would be picked up, which is 2, 0, 1, 2. So this third element, basically the second index, would be picked up as our color code. And the reason behind doing math.main is that we don't exceed the limit of the color codes array's length. And also convert this to math floor. Yeah. Let's also console log this index, so it's much easier for you to understand. Console log color index, or give some message color index here. Let's see. You can see the color index all are console logged starting from 240, and it will never cross this length of this whole array. Now after we have found out color index, let's comment this console log. It's time to return this color codes and the index, whatever index. Let's say the index is 2, so we would return 0, 1, 2. For that, simply do this color codes and with the index. So now we have grabbed the color. We will simply use inline styling for this. Where is it? Yeah, here. We'll simply use style, double objects, background color property, background, camel case should be there, background color. Now there should be a condition. If the activity count that we have is 0, then we should be just simply sending white color, or maybe complete hex, white color, 10% of opacity. You can just simply add this F 6 times, the hex code of white. Then 10 should be for the opacity percentage. If you put 100, that would be the complete white. If you put 10, this would be like 10% of white. So let's get back. Or else, if the activity count is not 0, we would simply just convert the color into string. Whatever color we did find from this, we would simply add this to string. Yeah, now we can see that it has started taking shape. Now simply remove this activity count, whatever we had here. And as we have span, we won't be able to see anything. Let's convert them into div. Now you will be able to see all the boxes. Now let's align them properly. Inside the main route, let's create something. Let's add a section instead of the divs. Let's add section for better semantics. Let's add some color. Height should be 100 VH. For that I will add H screen. Width to be full. Background to be something hard like zinc. 900. Then add flex column. We won't probably need that flex column, but let's center everything. Justify center and items center. And in order to take this effect, we will again have to get back to the heatmap calendar. And now to the wrapper div, we will simply add grid, then grid flow column, sorry, not row exactly, grid flow column, and add some gaps, gap of 1. And now we can also do here grid rows 6. You'll be able to see it has started taking shape, but in a week we have 7 days, so we can't just simply add 6 rows. We need 7 rows, but Tailwind does not provide that. When I add grid row 7, this has no classes at all, so we have to add that manually. You can either create a module CSS or global class, or follow the inline styling property, which is pretty quick, but you should not add this in production. So I'll simply add manually grid template rows, which is the CSS property, and inside it this add this string, repeat 7 times, min max 0 and 1 fractional unit. And now you will be able to see this has completely taken the shape. Now let's add the days, weekdays, Monday, Wednesday and Friday, just like we have seen on GitHub or Leetcode. So we would be doing that in the main route. let's create a div here, or maybe span, as that's inline. So inside the span we would simply create another span like Monday, then another span for Wednesday, and the last span for Friday. Yeah, this should be visible. So as we did flex column, yeah, let's do flex row. Yeah, now let's inside this other date spans, let's again do flex, and this should be flex column. Right, let's add a border to see what is the range. As the border is ranging from this place, let's just simply wrap this inside another div, and to this div we will be simply adding class flex, and by default it should be flex type row. Yeah, that's good. Now we can remove the border, and we will simply do justify around, and everything will fall in place. Okay, we might have to add some padding y of, let's say, 2. Yeah, that's cool. And let's give some color. Text color should be text gray 300. Yeah, that's cool enough. Text size should be text extra small. Yeah, and text align right, text right. And also give some right padding right, like 12 pixels. Yeah, we probably have completed this. Let's see. 5 posts on this date, then 10 posts. Let's hover on to this one, 14 posts, then 0 posts, and 1 post. Yeah, we have completed this. But if you want something like GitHub, that clicking on this specific date you will land on that commit graph history or something, you can simply convert this a single node into a link component. So for that I will convert this div into link by Next.js, and the href should be like template literals, then /posts /date, whatever it should be inside the query date, and whatever date you had inside this template literal date, this specific date. So when we now hover onto a node in the bottom left, you will be able to see it can now navigate to the specific post commit date. So this is it. I know you must have liked this video. If you really did, and if this video was helpful to you, make sure to drop a like on this video, and make sure to subscribe this channel to support me and get more updates from me. See ya.